This is Hashtag History, episode 124. I'm Rachel. I stared at the word that said four, but my tongue wanted to say three so badly.
I heard it.
For no reason. 24? Yeah, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And we are back for another episode about a badass woman in history.
Love it, always.
Favorite. Mm-hmm. We definitely like to sprinkle these in regularly because it never hurts to learn more about an empowering woman in history, especially when that is a woman that everyone at least tangentially knows about. This week we're discussing Joan of Arc. Everyone knows at least the name. Right? At a minimum, you know the name.
Yeah.
Now, Joan of Arc is, of course, most well known for leading the French army to victory during the 100 Years' War when she was only a teenager. She claimed that she had been sent visions by God and that she was fulfilling a prophecy by leading France to victory. She would later be captured, however, by the enemy, that they considered her a heretic, and she would be burned at the stake for her alleged crimes. About 20 years after her death, she would be vindicated of these allegations, and in 1920, she would officially be declared a saint by the Roman Catholic Church. She's now considered a patron saint of France. Mm-hmm. Quite a turnaround, if you ask me.
Yeah. And only 20 years later.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because they knew they were wrong. Because they knew they messed up.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So was Joan of Arc a heroine? Was she a heretic? Or was she just like a really confused, but also very passionate and very impressive young woman? Mm-hmm. I think we're all pretty familiar with who she was, what she did, and her unfortunate fate. But there's still so many details and interesting tidbits to her story that I really look forward to getting into this week. But first, let's get into this drink.
Nice.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
All right. Oh, I thought you were drinking the drink. I was like, girl.
I know. I've been wanting to, though.
Okay. This is the second of 5 cocktails that our dear friend and listener, Alicia Gutierrez Remind, sponsored this season.
So sweet.
Yeah. So shout out to Alicia, and a friendly reminder to all of you that you too can sponsor a cocktail and get a shout out on a future episode. Find all the details and a link to sponsor on our website at hashtaghistory-pod.com and go to the support us tab.
Yes. And actually, since the start of this season, we've already had another 3 cocktails sponsored. I know.
People.
So amazing.
We're gonna be 6 seasons ahead.
Yeah, truly. Or what we need to do is just a wild night of cocktails. When I can drink again, is just blow through all the cocktails in one night. just a you and me cocktail party.
I love it.
Yeah, I know.
And then maybe just take Instagram stories throughout the thing.
A sponsored drunk session.
Boo. Boo?
Booze. Boo booze. That sounds great. I don't know. Okay. So sweet. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to Alicia.
Yeah, definitely. You'll hear her name 3 more times.
So sweet.
Over the next 3 episodes. Okay, so this week was easy.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It was an easy decision to make when it came to selecting the cocktail. I simply searched for Joan of Arc cocktail and boom, popped up this bad boy.
Yay.
It was featured on bevy.com. And this is a direct quote from that bevy.com article. It says, the Joan of Arc cocktail is a St. Patrick's Day cocktail invented by Jack McGarry of the Dead Rabbit, one of New York City's most renowned bars and winner of World's Best Cocktail Bar at the 2015 Spirited Awards.
Wow.
The original recipe is made with a chamomile-infused Irish whiskey, a fresh combination of lemon juice and cucumber juice, honey syrup, and a honey liqueur, and some champagne to top it all off. Well, I did have to make some tweaks, obviously, because I'm not going to go infuse whiskey on top of my full-time job. So
You don't have time for that. In addition to like not necessarily this cocktail, sort of this cocktail, but also mostly the other episode that we're recording today, you did spend time like putting together ingredients
and
making those ingredients.
Like I'm cheap, so I'm always going to choose to make something instead of going and trying to buy it.
Yeah, but there are only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, so I hope this kind of spin on this is good. We shall see.
I'm really excited. It smells and looks amazing.
So my version of the Joan of Arc cocktail contains whiskey. The recipe calls for Irish whiskey. We just did do regular whiskey. It also contains honey, a lemon liqueur or like a limoncello, cucumber puree.
So excited about that.
Yeah, and then top it off with champagne. And do you want to kind of go through how you made it a mocktail?
Yeah, it actually was pretty easy because Ritual has a alternative whiskey substitute.
Yep.
Everything else is the same except for champagne. I just topped it with like what's it called?
Apple cider.
Yeah, sparkling apple cider.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And instead of limoncello, you just did lemon juice.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually this one was, I think it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I think mine might taste better.
I actually think it will too.
Because my cider has that apple taste in it and it smelled really, really good.
Yeah, totally. So this combo of cucumber and honey feels vaguely familiar, and I'm pretty sure we've done something somewhat similar to it. I know for sure we've done cucumber, and I feel like it was also mixed with limoncello.
120 something episodes later.
I know, who knows?
Who knows?
Anyways, cheers.
Cheers.
Yours is so foamy compared to mine.
It's just an interesting taste.
Yeah.
Not a bad taste at all.
Yeah, it's fine. 5.
Really?
Yeah. It's fine.
I don't know how I feel because because of the
sparkling
cider is mostly apple juice,
but
I can eat cucumber at the same time, which is great.
Yes.
But it's a weird taste.
Weird. It's a weird combo.
I'm going to go to a 7 because it's refreshing.
Totally.
But weird.
Okay, so we're at an average of 6.
All right. A solid 6. To begin, let's talk about Joan of Arc's name. Actually, to begin.
Jeanne d'Arc.
Literally, that's what I was going to say. To begin, I'll need to rely on you a lot for like French pronunciation of
places and stuff.
Places and names throughout the episode. So that's your warning ahead of time. But yeah, so Joan of Arc, her name, there's a lot to talk about there because in reality, her name was not actually Joan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, I'm already learning.
And she did not come from a place called Arc either. Rather, the name Joan came from a translation that her English captors settled on. Whenever Joan signed her name, she would sign it, and perhaps there's a different kind of pronunciation of this if it's in French, but how I would say it is either Joanne or Jeanne.
Yeah. Joanne.
Okay.
Which is almost like John.
Exactly.
Joanne.
You got it. Exactly. It is the feminine version of the masculine name John. And so when the English were translating her name, they translated John to Joan. As for Arc, this is just like one giant misunderstanding that is honestly atrocious by today's editing standards.
Okay.
But in those days, there wasn't much standardization in writing and documentation.
Right.
And so her father's last name was written in a variety of ways. It was written, you already kind of said it, dark or D'Arc. It's D''Arc.
Yeah.
It was also written dark, tart, dart, tark, and more. That made me feel like I was singing that song from Singing in the Rain. Where Moses supposes his toes are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously. That's how I just felt right there. But yeah, like, I mean, it's insane to me that there can be that many variations on a last name in text, but indeed there is.
Yeah.
So any possible variation that you can think of, it was most likely written in that way. I just find it so fascinating that the name Joan of Arc is associated with one of the most well-known female figures in history. And that wasn't her name. The name Joan of Arc wasn't even used for the first time until more than 20 years after her death. Also, for the sake of this episode, I'm just going to refer to her as Joan. You all know that I more often than not refer to historical figures by their last name, unless we're talking about Selena because obviously her first and last name is Selena. Yeah. Obviously.
It's like you don't need the second name.
You don't need a second name.
Yeah.
Similarly, in the case of Joan of Arc, I'm not going to call her of Arc throughout the whole episode or Arc. So we're just going to stick with Joan.
It's Joan.
It's just
We're
Joan.
on a first name basis.
We are with Joan of Arc.
First name basis.
Yeah, we're on a first name basis with Joanne, but we're going to call her Joan.
Yeah.
Joan was born on January 6th of what is believed to be roughly the year 1412. She was born to her parents Jacques d'Arc and Isabelle Romay as one of 5 children in the village of Domremy, which is northeastern France.
Mm-hmm.
As was typical for this time period for young girls that grew up on farms to peasant parents, aka someone that's not nobility, Joan was not educated and was never taught to read or write. Despite this, her super religious mother made sure that Joan was very familiar with the teachings of the Catholic Church and became very familiar with the saints and scripture. Joan was born in the midst of the 100 Years' War, which I guess would be hard to not be born during the 100 Year War. If you were literally born anytime between the mid 1300s to mid 1400s. I mean, this was a 116-year long battle between England and France.
Right.
So really any French or English babies born in the 1300s or 1400s have pretty great odds of being born at some point during this more than a century long struggle.
Cool.
I mean, truly though. To make matters worse, something that happens a lot of the time during war with another country, France itself began to experience a lot of internal civil conflict. Mm-hmm. This is certainly not a new topic. It's not new to this podcast. We've talked about it before, how war divides people morally, socioeconomically, and politically.
Totally.
King Henry V of England invaded France in 1415 and was rather successful over the course of the next few years. In 1420, a peace treaty was established, which disinherited the current French Prince Charles's rights to the throne and made English Henry V the king of both England and France. Many of the French, known as the Burgundians, sided with the English and worked alongside them to remove French people from now English-occupied lands. This included Joan and her family. It was a really tough time for the French. I mean, roughly 50 years before this, the country was battling the Black Plague, which killed nearly half the population.
Yeah.
Then, with the 100 Years' War and much of that conflict taking place on French soil, it destroyed many of their lands and resources. And then, to add more to it, a civil conflict ensued within France between the Burgundians, who sided with the now ruling English, and the few French that remained loyal to the French crown, people like Joan. Mm-hmm. So remember that Joan grew up in a super religious household. In roughly 1425, when she was just 13 years old, Joan stated that she had the first of what would be many visions. In this vision, she stated that someone that appeared to be Saint Michael appeared to her, surrounded by angels. The fact that it was Saint Michael that appeared to her is significant because Saint Michael is the archangel known as the Defender, the warrior in the battle of good and evil. We're going to look at a piece of artwork showing Saint Michael, and I'm hoping we can kind of speak to some of the elements depicted here.
Okay.
Just things that you see about him and who and what he's destroying.
Yeah, so he's depicted as he's like a warrior. Mm-hmm. He is, an angel warrior.
Yeah.
He's holding a sword, and he also is holding a scale in one hand, which I'm assuming is supposed to like justice.
Yep.
And he's smushing down a bad guy into the flaming earth.
Yes. Would you take a guess at who that bad guy is?
Satan.
That's a good guess.
Black wings. So
so obviously the devil. Yeah, no, perfect. That's exactly it. When you see artwork of Saint Michael, he is oftentimes depicted with war weapons and is oftentimes seen destroying Satan, whether it actually be, in that picture that we just looked at, an image of Satan, the fallen angel.
Yeah.
Or it could be a representation of Satan, such as a dragon or a snake.
Right.
I think this is all really significant because many in France, particularly those that had been pushed out of their lands by England, saw Saint Michael not only as the defender of good versus evil, but also the defender of France versus England.
Yeah, they, didn't have a lot else
to associate.
Yeah,
or to think.
They didn't have Netflix, so there wasn't a lot to compare what was happening in their lives to. They all just read the Bible. Did they even read the Bible? No, they were just told the Bible.
Exactly. Yeah, they were told. They were told the Bible. But exactly, like that is their context for everything, really, and not only like a moral code for them to live by, but also somewhat of a source of entertainment. It was their storytelling. I mean, it's the stories that they told their children. You grow up with these stories and these narratives, and so when you find parallels in reality, it's very easily to make those parallels to the Bible. From a young age, Joan was insistent upon remaining a virgin and even narrowly avoided a marriage arrangement made by her father when she was about 16 years old. Her would-be husband was so upset with her for refusing the proposal that he actually brought her to court, and Joan was able to successfully defend herself before the court.
Oh my God.
And got them to agree with her that she should not marry.
What the heck, Joan?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because of the time period that we're working with here, we really don't know much more about this incident because obviously there's not great documentation. But I wish that we did.
That would be a really good like Lifetime movie.
Ooh, yeah.
Just modernize it a little bit.
I love that.
Yeah.
Actually, as I was doing my research, I saw that there's like a Joan of Arc musical. And so I wonder if there's like a whole song, a whole scene for this here. I don't know.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there has listened or watched it, let me know.
Yeah, I always picture the Joan of Arc from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I definitely didn't watch that. Sorry.
Keanu.
I know Keanu, but Keanu's stupid Keanu. I don't want to.
Keanu.
He's cute, but I don't want to watch him be really stupid.
I don't know.
No. Yeah, so I've actually never seen that movie. One of the few Keanu movies I've never seen.
I feel like you should. I feel like you should. No, but
anyway, there's a Joan of Arc in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's just like one of the side characters or whatever. And
she's literally Joan of Arc?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the whole premise of it is they go back in time and collect people from history.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they go back in a telephone booth. Go back in time.
Okay.
Very realistic.
Yeah.
That's who I picture.
Okay.
Every time I talk about Joan of Arc, I picture that specific actress. Yeah.
That's a great image.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep her in my mind for the whole episode.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to this court appearance, I do wish that we could hear the arguments that Joan used and really just the way in which she spoke that could convince a court that a medieval 16-year-old girl whose only purpose in life is to get married should not get married.
She must have been so well-spoken or like to make men who literally look at her as an item to be, traded.
Yes. Her sole purpose in life is to get married and have children.
Yes.
And she was able to say, like, to get them to agree with her that she shouldn't get married.
That's very impressive.
Exactly. And so I think that speaks so much to who she must have been. And I just hate that we're talking about a time period in history where we don't have good documentation to know exactly what she said and just the ways, this persuasive argument, what exactly it was.
Yeah.
But I bring up this story about this almost marriage for 3 reasons. Mm-hmm. 1, because it's going to come up later during her trial.
Got it.
So remember that.
Okay.
2, because again, I think it really demonstrates how persuasive and intelligent and confident Joan must have been at such a young age. And 3, because her virginity will play a key role in the story. The fact that she didn't get married, she's still a virgin, that's super, super important. Mm-hmm. She stated around this time that she also began having visions of St. Catherine and St. Margaret, both of whom are very well known to be virgin saints. Mm-hmm. Like if you Google St. Margaret, you'll see that she's also synonymously referred to as Margaret the Virgin. Yeah. It's part of the title. It's a big deal. Now, why I think it's significant that Joan was adamant about remaining a virgin and that she was having 2 well-known virgin saints appearing before her is because there was a prophecy that was well known in France as Joan was growing up that stated that it would be a virgin that would one day come to save France. Joan was very much under the belief that she was indeed this virgin that was sent to earth to save her country. Under this belief, in May of 1428, she traveled to the closest garrison commander, Robert de Baudricourt, and petitioned him to send with her an armed escort onto southern France, where the crowned Prince Charles lived. Baudricourt turned her down right away, even after she explained to him her visions and the belief that she was fulfilling this prophecy. His mind changed, though, when she returned to him again in January of the following year. At this point, she had started to gather more support from locals, other
Which
people.
Is so crazy.
She's really amazing.
Yeah, she had to have been an amazing person, like so like compelling and
compelling's a good word.
Yeah.
Compelling, persuasive, confident.
Yeah. She had to have been.
Yeah. And so Beaujecourt had her escorted through English-occupied lands to reach Charles, where she hoped he would give her the chance to introduce herself, what she believed her mission was, and to ultimately help him regain the French throne. It's important to note that before she left for this mission, she cut her hair short and put on men's clothing. And this is often the way Joan of Arc is depicted going forward. There were a handful of explanations for this. One being that the troops escorting her felt that if they were to be captured, she would be safer if she looked like a man. Captured women oftentimes get raped. But also, wearing men's clothing for what would be an 11-day journey was, strictly speaking, just so much more functional.
I mean, hi, we wear pants now. So.
Yeah. And it's, do you see the way I'm sitting? Yeah. It is so much more functional. But I mean, imagine like sitting on a horse for 11 days in a dress. No, thank you. From Joan's own accounts, it appears that she did this as a means of desexualizing herself, making herself more modest, knowing that she would be surrounded by men in this man's world on this man's journey. And from this time forward, Joan would continue to don men's clothing.
Hey everyone, we are so excited to share with you about Macy's Wine Shop. Yes, it is that Macy's. Macy's has launched their very own wine shop, which includes full-size, delicious wines curated by their experts coming from renowned wine regions, which include our home state of California and beyond. You can select exactly what type of wine you are looking for. Do you love reds? Do you love whites? Maybe a little bit of both? You can make these personalized selections quickly and easily through the Macy's Wine Shop. What makes Macy's Wine Shop better than any other online wine club is that they deliver quality wines at unmatched price points, all within 1 to 3 business days. Seriously, I ordered my wine on a Monday and had already received them by that following Wednesday. And with our link, you get $50 off a 6-bottle box of Macy's award-winning wines, which is a $95 retail value. Head to the show notes of this episode to access the discount code, or you can head to our Instagram to find the link in our bio. Cheers!
On about March 4th, Joan and her escorts reached Chinon. Once she got there, she asked for a word with Prince Charles. As legend has it, when she went to meet with Charles, he had disguised himself amongst the other audience in his court. So he's like standing amongst them, wearing the same clothing, looking the same as everyone else.
Right. They didn't have IMDb back then.
No, exactly. So like, how would she know?
Right.
However, clever Joan pointed him out immediately, something that already kind of won him over. How could she have known which one he was when he was hidden amongst everyone else? The ugliest one out of them?
And I know I joke there's no IMDb, but like there are paintings of nobility,
sure,
right? But I would assume that they're not like widely spread.
And what I would think too is even if you're kind of told what this guy looks like, I mean, they probably all look close to the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like everyone, but truly, like everyone probably looks about the same.
Yeah. So I mean, that's, I'm sure, another kind of reason why people believed her to be a saint or
definitely
like working on behalf of God.
Yep. It's another check mark for people that needed further proof.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, after she met with him personally and further convinced him that she knew information about him that only she would know if she did indeed have direct communications with God, it is said by eyewitnesses that they emerged from this room and, quote, the king appeared radiant, unquote. Mm-hmm. And
she could still be a virgin and do some other things. I'm just saying.
You're right. She could. And that would be why he was radiant.
Yeah.
But there aren't documentation of what went down between them. But I guess what I've read is it more than likely, these are just scholars speculating about what information she maybe
boosted his
knew.
Ego.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're a scholar.
I'm a scholar.
But exactly, that's what they were saying, is like the things she was telling him were probably like
things he wanted to hear.
The things he wanted to hear, and saying like, I know you've prayed to God to retake the throne. I know you've prayed to God and said, or God has told you you're the legitimate heir to the throne.
Yeah.
Like the things he wanted to hear. And he was like, oh my God, how do you know what my prayers have been? Which it's probably not that hard to figure it out, especially she's just clever.
Yeah.
But for him, I mean, again, another check mark. That's all.
Totally. Yeah.
Needed.
Again, I know I keep making jokes like they don't have IMDb, they don't have Netflix, but like all you have is your life to entertain you, right? There's no like external influences. So all you know is literally God, like the story, religion.
Yes.
That is your thing. So anytime someone comes and says things you want to hear and like, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like, seen and heard. Oh my God, it must be God.
And especially for Charles VII, who is in this weird limbo position of he's the crowned prince, but he's not the official king of France because he's been disinherited from the throne.
Yeah.
Part of why he was disinherited, not only, England obviously booted him, and now Henry V is the ruler over England and France, but also his own mother had all these claims about his illegitimacy to the throne. And so for someone like Charles VII, he is particularly vulnerable and susceptible to being told you are the rightful heir to the throne and France wants you on the throne. Joan was then sent for weeks to be questioned by high-powered religious figures and doctors to determine if she was, a little cuckoo.
Right, and doctors back in the dark ages, we know.
Legit. They were determining whether she was crazy or if she was indeed sent by God.
Right.
And after weeks of grilling her, they determined that she was indeed the real deal. Again, just further proof that either she is divinely sent or she is so intelligent.
Yeah.
Like, she is really incredible.
Yeah.
If nothing else gets across in this episode, Joan was incredible.
Yeah, she was incredible.
She was incredible.
Yeah.
When Joan made her way back to Chinon before the king, she was offered a sword, but she said no, that she wanted a very specific ancient sword that she knew would be found behind the altar of this very specific chapel. And indeed, that's exactly where this ancient sword was found.
Okay.
So how could she have known that?
Because she sent someone to put it there.
Because she sent someone to put it there, or she was really divinely sent for this mission. It's
yeah.
Again, I'm going to use the word check mark again.
Yeah.
Like, if you need more proof,
she's giving it. Like,
she's giving it.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And you know what? Even for the most like critical person who's like, no, she's a human being, right?
Yeah.
She's so intelligent that she thought she knew. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Even if you look at it completely like that, she still sent someone or like went and placed this ancient sword behind an altar. That's still so cool.
Yes. Even if she's not divinely sent, she's still the smartest person here.
Right.
And maybe we should see what she can do.
Yeah.
In March of 1429, Charles put together an army for her, naming her the captain of war, something that was very controversial at the time, naming a young, inexperienced woman as the captain of war. And Joan and her army rode off for Orleans, a critical location in the midst of this war. Orleans had been under siege for several months, and most of the French there believed the only way they could possibly survive, much less win, this particular battle was by divine intervention alone. And thus, enter Joan. Joan wrote a letter to the English, tied it onto an arrow, and had it shot over toward the English. This letter essentially told them to leave France immediately or she would make them regret it. It really is wild, the confidence and audacity of this teenage girl, that she could have this letter written to the English forces when she herself had zero military experience, really like no experience or expertise at all outside of household tasks that she'd been trained to do back at home, like sewing and milking cows. Like those were her day-to-day tasks.
Yeah.
And yet she was so convinced of her mission and that it had been ordained by God that she pressed forward. And this confidence rubbed off on the rest of her troops.
Right.
For weeks, Joan and her army fought the English, eventually miraculously causing them to retreat. This battle was going on for something like 7 months, and this was
what?
Yes, and it was a very, very this is coming from me that doesn't like battle talk, and so I don't know all the details, but Orleans was a really critical position and location, because if the English took over Orleans, it was like the last standing location before they'd be able to take over like so much more of the French lands.
Right.
It was a critical location. This was a really big battle, really big deal. 7 months long. Joan comes in.
7 months.
7 months. Joan
Some
comes
wars
in.
aren't even 7 months long.
Right. 7 months for this one battle. Joan comes and she takes over the whole thing, causing the English army to retreat.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Joan.
I know. Joanne. Word was sent to Prince Charles of the victory. Joan was insistent that Charles travel immediately to Reims, escorted by her and her army along the way in case they had to fight any English soldiers that may attempt to stop them, which they did. And it was here that he was officially crowned the King of France.
So really, she won him the crown. Yeah.
No question, no doubt. She 100% did.
Thanks, Joan.
Despite the fact that it was Joan's victory that allowed for Charles to take power, he and his advisors began to undermine her and give her less and less authority.
Well, I mean, she's still just a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, she might be a woman sent by God, but she's just a woman.
She's just a woman.
She's just a woman.
Obviously. She did defeat the English army, something that your army was unable to do for 7 months, but
she's just a woman.
She's literally just a woman. So I don't know what you expected here.
Yeah.
Joan was determined to continue on to Paris, which was still occupied by the English, and to take things by force there. But Charles and many of his advisors warned against this, determining it would be better to handle things peacefully rather than with military force. So, I mean, I tell that story because you can see that inch by inch, Joan and Charles were beginning to disagree and separate from one another in their wishes, desires, and ultimate strategies.
One thing I am going to say, and I know like it's probably mostly just because she was a woman and whatever.
Yeah.
But I could also see being concerned that someone so compelling and someone so charming and able to rouse such a backing behind them would eventually, that's a threat to him.
Yep. Well, and I do think, and I'm not trying to squash the sexism that's obviously at play here too. Yeah. But she is still a kid. She is still inexperienced.
Yeah.
Not that Charles is like so much greater and so wise and knows how to rule or anything.
Yeah.
But not everything has to be handled with violence and military force.
Right.
And that's the way Joan saw everything. Like, let's go take these guys down over here because she had so much success before. Let's do this. And Charles is like, hey, there are other ways. We can like diplomatically
let's not kill people.
Handle this.
Let's not kill our people.
Exactly. There are other ways to find resolution other than military force. And that was, Joan had a one-track mind when it came to that.
Okay.
This ultimately would push Joan further and further out from the position of power and authority that she so shortly held. Because of this back and forth in the decision making, by the time Joan did reach Paris, it was too late for her and her army to do anything. This military campaign was unsuccessful for the French, and this defeat planted a seed in Charles's head that perhaps Joan was no longer favored by God.
Okay.
I know, because people favored by God get their way 100% of the time. Didn't you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No failure allowed here.
Jeez.
Despite this, and despite rumors that were swirling in Charles's court surrounding Joan and her alleged divine authority, Charles ordered her onward to Compiègne with the mission of regaining control of it from the Burgundians. Joan and her army would fail, however, and Joan would be captured in May of 1430. Although unsuccessful, Joan did attempt to escape twice. And I have to mention one of these escape attempts in particular because it just demonstrates what a badass Joan was. After her first escape attempt, she was sent to be held in the tower of this huge castle. From there, she jumped out of a window that was anywhere between 40 feet and 70 feet high, depending upon what source you read. It could be either one of those or somewhere in between. And she landed down into a dry moat. It's like insane.
Whoa.
So she was injured.
Well, yeah.
She was injured for sure.
Which is proof that she isn't divine.
Proof that she is indeed human.
Or yeah.
Yeah.
Or the opposite. She survived.
But she survived. But shortly thereafter, she was recaptured by the Burgundians and then transferred to the English. Charles did not attempt to negotiate her release or really get involved whatsoever.
She was out of the way,
Yeah.
you know?
I just think that's awful.
It's
though.
awful.
Like, the only reason
Yeah.
he's in the position he's in is because of her, and he chose not to get involved in her situation at all.
Yeah.
For a year, Joan would be held captive in really, really horrible conditions.
Ooh.
In January of 1431, Joan was brought to trial. And something I think is important to note here as well is it's not simply that the English wanted to bring forth this kind of strange woman who had successfully defeated and killed many of their men and allies. I mean, that's certainly part of it, of course. But also, by bringing Joan to trial and questioning her legitimacy, they were, in a way, bringing King Charles and his legitimacy to the throne to court as well.
Yeah.
Because if Joan was some crazy witch, what good was it that a witch had placed Charles in the highest position of power throughout France?
Yeah, she represented him.
Definitely. And that speaks to part of why he disowned her or chose not to get involved, because this whole trial was a message to him that we're questioning your legitimacy and we're going to try to undermine your power.
Yeah.
When Joan was brought to trial, there were a number of accusations cast upon her, about 70 accusations in total.
Ooh.
Yeah. One was that her cross-dressing by wearing men's clothing violated the Bible.
Okay.
Another accusation was that her alleged visions that she had received from God had actually been from the devil. Mm-hmm. And yet another accusation brought against her was the fact that she had denied that marriage that her father had arranged years before. This incident alone proving that she was a dishonest and deceitful woman.
But she convinced other people.
But to even deny her father's orders, to deny nature, to defy the natural course of a woman's life, it's deceitful.
Yeah, because it's natural to sell your daughter off.
I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Joan held her ground throughout this whole trial, even stumping her accuser sometimes with the way that she carefully and thoughtfully answered the questions. During her capture, she became horribly ill and was convinced that she was dying. She begged to be allowed to receive Holy Communion, but was denied and essentially told that if she were to die while being held captive, her death and burial would not be handled by the church. As a devout Christian believing you are on the brink of death, I imagine this is about the worst thing that you could ever hear.
Right.
In May of that year, so roughly 4 months after her trial had begun, she was taken to a cemetery where her sentence was read aloud. Joan stood her ground once again, but eventually, believing it was, quote, pleasing to our Lord, unquote, she signed an abjuration form admitting to heresy and denying that she had ever heard voices. She was then sent back to prison. The next few days of Joan's life are not well recorded, but from what we do have, it appears as though she were beaten and possibly raped while behind bars. Additionally, much to the annoyance of her accusers, she began wearing men's clothing again, something that to them showed that she wasn't truly repentant of her sins. When asked about why she was wearing men's clothing again, she told her captors that it made more sense for her to dress like a man if she was going to be held by male guards. I think reading between the lines what she was saying here was...
I'm trying to make myself not look appealing to them.
Yeah, I'm trying to not be raped. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
When asked about her visions, Joan returned to stating that she had indeed had these visions and that she would never deny them again. As a relapsed heretic, Joan was sentenced to death. On May 30th, 1431, at only 19 years old, Joan was burned at the stake like a witch.
Oh my God, I was still living with my parents at 19.
Oh, 19. And she had already successfully
Won a war.
won a huge battle that changed the tides of the war.
Yeah.
100%. It said that she placed a wooden cross on her chest and she stared at it and held on to it as she burned to death. Despite her horrendous execution, Joan's mission had come to fruition. Roughly 20 years after her death, France finally beat England. Not long after that, in November 1455, an additional trial was held that determined that the articles of accusation against Joan were to be destroyed, that a cross was to be erected at her execution site, and that Joan of Arc was to be considered a hero and the savior of France. I have a picture of her execution site for us to look at.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. I'm assuming that this was like another cross was put up, or is this the actual cross that was put up?
Yeah, this was erected at the site later to like memorialize her.
Right. So,
yeah, no, that would be a tall AF cross for her to get all the way up to the top of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a cool looking tall cross that looks like there's some historic buildings around it. And
yeah. I just think it's like a really neat looking cross. I like how tall it is.
Yeah.
So you would see it from a distance.
Yeah.
On June 24th, 1920, she was officially canonized by the Roman Catholic Church, making her an official saint. There is a festival held in her honor every year on the second Saturday in May.
Be fun.
I know. Actually, I know. I was thinking the same thing. How, like, I feel like I need to start celebrating her myself here.
Yeah.
Just do my own little Joan of Arc festival. You want to have a Joan of Arc festival?
Every year.
Every year. Doesn't that sound cool?
Let's do it. What are we going to do to celebrate?
Burn each other at the stake. And talk about our crazy visions.
Okay.
We should look at how they celebrate it.
Let's
Hopefully it's with beer. Hopefully they celebrate it with beer.
Wine.
Yes.
It's France.
Definitely.
They're classy.
With champagne.
Yeah. Champagne.
So who was Joan of Arc? We discussed this concept in depth during our episode about the Salem witch trials. I think it was you that brought it up a lot when we were talking about the motivations behind the women that were involved in casting the accusations on innocent people.
Yeah.
Is it possible, similar to the Salem witch trials, is it possible that Joan, this young woman growing up in the Middle Ages with virtually no rights nor importance, sought an opportunity that would give her a position of power and authority?
I mean, I'm much more critical, obviously. And that's always kind of where my mind goes initially. That doesn't discredit her accomplishments in my mind. In fact, I feel it's almost more impressive to me if it's just this girl who just had so much like personality and persistence and like just intelligence. And that's so impressive. It makes it more impressive to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, and that's kind of where my mind goes.
Okay.
Is she's just a girl that was trying to, do something more than what the world wanted of her.
Yeah. And she was a really, really smart girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it also possible that Joan was a little cuckoo and was indeed hearing voices, but like not in the good way?
Yeah.
Most people have debunked that. They don't believe that. They believe that she believed.
I feel like I remember
voices.
seeing like, I don't know, a video or something about how it was like she might have had a condition that caused these whatever.
Yeah, and I did some research into that, and
there's no proof, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What most historians say is there would have been other
like if it was epilepsy
or
or
schizophrenia or something like that. There would be other indicators of that, and those are not in the records about her at all.
Right. In fact, it's very unlikely that people would so wholeheartedly follow someone who was like
who was exhibiting other
crazy
traits.
Yeah
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or is it possible that this was indeed a young woman sent by God to save France? I do think we have to acknowledge the unlikelihood and miraculousness of her success, given that she had no experience whatsoever. Whether you're religious or not, or believe that or not, you can acknowledge that that's a miracle. Her success
it's 1 in a million.
It is 1 in a million.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me. And then there is this random tidbit that I wanted to add on to the end here. But for those that knew her, they swear that Joan never got her period. Something that would further prove that she was indeed like a holy virgin sent by God. What?
I mean, like, we know that malnourishment makes you not have your period.
I know. Or like stress of like leading armies. Yeah, no, I completely agree. But it's just, I wanted to throw it in there that is something that if you read about Joan of Arc,
it's
you
another
may come across.
Box.
It's another checkbox.
Yeah. I get it.
And for those confirmation bias where you already wanted to believe something anyway, that's a huge check mark for you that like, oh, she also never got her period.
There you go.
She really is a virgin sent by God. Yeah, I don't think we will ever know the truth to the story.
No. How can you?
How can we? What we do know, though, is that centuries after her lifetime, Joan of Arc continues to inspire generations of young women to come. She inspires people to listen to their calling, to fight for what they believe in, and to not take shit from anyone.
You go, Joan.
You go, Joan. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of #History.
We'll share the pictures that we discussed on the episode to our Instagram, and all sources used to put together the episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use. Share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
And be sure to check us out on social media. We are on Instagram at #history_podcast.
And come join us over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. You also get access to some behind-the-scenes content, an automatic 15% off all merchandise, and we mail you cards and stickers.
We sure do.
We do. Thank you.
Bye.
We change it.
Find all the details and a link to our Wait, what?
I think you just said it weird, but I think you wrote it right. Okay.
Find all. Yeah. Didn't do regular whiskey. Didn't do regular whiskey. We did do regular whiskey.
I was like,
Really?
Do you feel like Bill and Ted?
A little bit. Jesus.
You're going to be having a conversation with Joan of Arc soon.
It's a
whiskey and the limoncello.
Limoncello and champagne.
Wow.
Shit. I need to slow my
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little
roll.
jelly.
It's
been a long time. It's been a long time since I've been drunk. So much more land of France.
Okay.
That sounded really smart. So much more land of France. Word was sent to Prince Charles of this victory. Word.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I said it like it was a longer sentence.
Oh, okay.
But that was the end of the sentence.
Okay.
Capturers. That's a word.
Captors.
Why is it not underlined? Capturers.
It might be a word. It's just
but captures is
there's a
definitely
better word.
Did you see this? My brain is like dead these days. Did you see this that I had to put in here? How to say that word? Because I kept trying to say Canaan instead of canon.
Oh.
Like, I was like embarrassed that I had to write that, but I knew I would say it wrong if I didn't. On June 24th, 1920, Joan was officially... I almost just said Canaan! Was officially...
Not
not canonized. She was officially canonized.